and happy
Good
Monday.
morning.
I can't believe it has been a week already since we were here. I feel like I was just here. Um, so, for those of you that may not know, the Health Advocate Summit was out in Vegas this last week, and I was busy. Let me just put it that way. I was busy. So, y'all know I'm in networking, like that's my gig. It was literally Tuesday until late Friday. It was crazy. It was great. It was a lot of good stuff. We'll talk more about that in the circle. But today we are back for Mindset Monday. Good morning, Kayla. How are you?
Good morning. I am here. I did
Good,
not
good.
go to the summit for anybody who's wondering because that is too many logistics with a 5 month old.
Yes, I think we can all agree and support you in that choice.
I
For
had quite a
sure.
few people ask me, and I was like, absolutely not.
Not happening.
Even if I just went and left him at home, like, what would I do with all the milk?
Right? Right. So yeah, there's tons of logistics there.
Yeah, yeah.
Super excited to be back here. Love that we got tons of new members for the circle, just FYI. I know, very excited. So if you're inside the platform and you see a new name, please reach out and say hello and welcome to them. Our community is growing. Some of these newer advocates um, are just kind of exploring the profession and thinking about getting in. So they need to know that we're here to support them and that this is definitely a viable career choice if that's what they choose to do. So let's get back to Mindset Monday. We kick off Monday mornings in a positive mindset here, the two of us, Kayla and Nicole. Um, and we really do this more for ourselves, but we decided to share it with you because it was being such a help. So, Kayla, talk to us this morning about what quote we're going to talk about. What are we doing this morning?
So, our quote today comes to us from Amy Cuddy, and it is authenticity doesn't just mean you're not filtering what you're saying. It's about being able to know and access the best parts of yourself and bring them forward.
I love this. I love this. So I'm going to give an example here. I was reading and prepping and thinking about this this morning. And hey, listen, we've got quite a few viewers this morning. Drop in the chat where you're at and where you're viewing us. Hey, Mary, good to see you. And one win from the weekend. One thing that you got from the weekend. So as I'm thinking about this quote, I'm really thinking about, wow, that is so powerful. We talked a little bit last week about the um, continuum of self-love, and I couldn't help but like relate this to that in regards to self-awareness and it being the first layer or the first rung up on that continuum. Um, and Friday, y'all don't know this. I spoke on Friday at the summit, and I'm going to tell you by Friday, I was really depleted. My energy levels were just really low. And you know what I decided to do? This is kind of out of like, I was like, I don't know how this is going to go, but it's what I need. It's what I need. I'm aware enough to know that I needed some help boosting my energy for my talk Friday afternoon to get us through the end. And so when I got up, I shared that every Wednesday we start our sessions inside the circle with wins and celebrations. And so we started my talk on Friday with weekend wins so that I could hear what everybody else was experiencing and through the week. And you guys know what? It really did replenish my energy. And once we got through a round of wins with the audience participation, I asked them, I said, so I'm just curious, do you see a difference in me up here from before we did this to now? And they all were very much in agreement that they did see the difference. And I think this is an illustration of this very quote. That's who I am. The truth about who I am is that I need to see other people succeeding and celebrating. That's where I get my energy. And the more people who shared that with me on that stage Friday afternoon, the more energy I had to plug through my presentation. That is authenticity, I think, based on what we're talking about. What do you think, Kayla?
I love that story. That is very much you. And I love to see that you were able to not only recognize that you had that need, but then also to act upon it shamelessly. And of course, that it's not like you were just taking, like obviously,
Hmm.
people, they got something from it as well. But that is just a shining example of being true to yourself and following your intuition. And I'm sure that I know that if you hadn't done that, people would not have had the impact that you wouldn't have had the impact on them that you were then able to create if you hadn't done that.
Very much so. Very true. And it was like I said, it was so evident to me. I was very nervous and very concerned about my energy level on Friday. And as I was listening to other presentations Friday morning, I was running through my mind, what do I need? How do I do this? Because it was an issue. It's a real issue. It was a real issue. So I love this quote because I think it's so true. Like we do need to be self-aware and understanding how do we bring the best of ourselves forward? What do we need in order to do that? And how do we take care of ourselves in order to do that? Because you said something really important, I think, Kayla, about the impact that we're designed to have on the community around us. And in order for us to be our best selves, to show up as our best selves, and to provide the best service to the community we live in, we really do have to know what are our best pieces of ourselves and how do we emphasize those and grow those so that we're showing up and serving in the best way possible. I
Yeah,
think it's great.
I have a philosophy that we're all different people, we're all individuals, and I've heard a mentor speak before that you should never be concerned about getting online and sharing information that some just because somebody else has said that before. And for a couple of reasons. Number one, the online space is very loud, the turnover is very quick, and some big influencer could have said it last week and everybody's forgotten. So if it's important, people need a reminder. But more importantly, number two is that we all communicate and resonate in different ways. And
Mm,
the message that I have to share is inherently going to hit different than if somebody else shares it. And the people who resonate on that same wavelength, that same frequency as me, they need to hear it from me or they're not really going to hear it. And
mhm,
when we lean into showing up and being our full authentic selves, that's when the spirit of our message gets to come out the strongest. And when we can reach people at that deepest level.
I love that. And I love what you just said. Like some people need to hear it from us, and us meaning whoever we are individually, right? Because Kayla, and we've talked about this quite frequently, but Kayla can deliver the same message that I deliver, but the different people will hear it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I love that. I think that's fantastic. I did take down. So the other thing that I love that it's about communication and how we communicate. I think this drives into one of the notes that I have here about creating deeper connections. Because when we're communicating authentically, the people who are designed and meant to hear the message from us hear it with clarity. And as a result, it really does deepen that connection
Oh yeah,
in that relationship.
I can say this very very it could not be more true in my life. those of you who know me well might find this funny. But one thing that I didn't have any self-awareness of about myself until Nicole pointed it out recently was that
You almost
I
spit out my coffee.
I know. Well, that's every week. It's not a Mindset Monday
I
if I
know.
don't make you almost spit out your coffee. I actually told my husband that
True
the other day.
story.
I sit and wait for it. I was like, when's it going to be? But
Love that.
one thing that so you hear authenticity or be authentic a lot. I feel like it's a buzzword right now, just like artisanal bread was a couple of years ago.
Yes.
But it's true. I mean, that's how you connect with people, is to be like the most true version of yourself. I've been doing this since before it was a fad. I've been doing it for decades, and it's the reason I didn't have a lot of friends in elementary school, because most children are not equipped to handle that. But I also did not understand the nuance of the next part of the sentence here. It doesn't mean that you're not filtering what you're saying. So for the longest time, I was just my pure self, completely unfiltered. And most human beings aren't designed to receive that very well. It just makes you the weird kid. So, but the other side of that is the few people who were like on my frequency, I've always been able to like sit and connect with very deeply, very quickly. And that's what something that Nicole pointed out to me recently. She said, well, that's your superpower, is you can have such empathetic, deep connection with people in a short amount of time. And it was funny because I didn't recognize that till you pointed it out, because it's normal to me.
It's been that way. That's just how you are.
My
That's
life.
just who you are. Right. Exactly.
But it brought that awareness, and I got to see that, oh yeah, wow, that I can, now that I have that kind of take a step back and look at it with a little bit of a different perspective, I can see how much that has helped me and how much that has served me and continues to. And now I can use that with a little bit more intention behind it. And I think it all comes back to this authenticity. I don't pretend to be anybody. Like, you only get one version of me. Now, I may not tell you the whole story every time. I have learned that over my almost 32 years now, but it's never different versions. And people know, man, you know when you're getting bamboozled, right. You know when you're getting schmoozed, you know when somebody's not telling you the full story. And when somebody shows up and doesn't give you even a half an ounce of that nonsense, that's your person, and you know it. Right. So and I think this is it. Yeah. So this is important to me in a couple of ways. Number one, it makes all of your relationships better, I think, because the people who are put off by this frank authenticity, it's fine. They're not your people. Let them weed themselves out quickly so that you're not wasting your 5 currencies on them. That might sound a little bit harsh, but I'm one of those people. I started working in the ER and dealing with life and death when I was 19. And it became very clear to me, I consider that young, very early on in my life, that absolutely what we have today, here and now, this is very fleeting. And I am not a person to sit around and waste time on anything.
Right? We don't have time to waste.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a tangent, but
that's okay. I think the thing, I love what you said, and I think it's so true. And I think one of the ways we can reframe that is instead of like, I don't want to waste my time, right? My 5 currencies on somebody who doesn't fit as a result of my authenticity. But more importantly than that, I don't want them to waste their 5 currencies on this relationship, because what I have found, Kayla, is many, many times I recognize my authenticity much quicker than other people recognize theirs. And as a result, I feel like it's my responsibility to release them and allow them to go find the people that resonate with them and are on the same authenticity wavelength or whatever that is, right? So be I think it's important since we're in Mindset Monday that we help ourselves frame things in the positive aspect of, right? Like I'm not going to pursue this relationship because one, it's not helpful for me, and two, it's not helpful for them. And I'm
Right.
going to look to see how I can help them find and connect the community, the people, the person, the advocate that will resonate with them so that they can have um, that dynamic that they deserve in their relationships, because it does deepen connections. And it also, in addition to deepening connections, it enhances the impact of the relationship, right? When we're on the same frequencies, due to that. And it also fosters resilience and growth, because I have some friends that, show up authentically and are really good at what they do and tell me the truth even when I might not really be interested in the truth, or the
Or
truth might be a
especially
little.
when.
Yes, especially when. That's right. And this is where I think that the authenticity and accessing these best parts of ourselves really foster growth and resilience, right? Because when I'm in relationship that's deeply connected, then the people I'm in relationship with, they have a deeper impact on me. And as a result, it allows me to grow and be more resilient. Which is really a beautiful trail if we're able to tap into these best parts of ourselves and bring them forward in our lives. Um,
Yeah, and
Really
if there
powerful
is
stuff.
something, when there is something difficult to have a conversation around, I like to also mention there's always a kind way to deliver a harsh message. So
Always.
this isn't about, oh, be mean to your friends or anything like that, but we all have stuff we need to work on. If you have a belly button, you are not perfect. And
There,
the
I
best thing
love
you can
that.
do for yourself is to surround yourself with people who frankly will call you on your shit, because that's the only
Right.
way that you're going to grow. My husband and I challenge each other with to no end. Like, to anybody who doesn't know us, if you just like stood outside our house, you might not think we have the best relationship because we will butt heads constantly. But the reason for that is that we hold each other very accountable and to a high standard, and we also have a philosophy within our relationship that we don't, if there is a little friction, a little nudge between each other, we talk about it, we hash it out, we figure it out right there. We don't like sweep it under the rug and let it fester into a disease. It's like, no, you got to scrape. All right, we got to go to the bathroom and wash it out now so it doesn't get
Sure.
gross. But that's uncomfortable.
Of course. Of
But
course.
it's so worth it. And we're about to have our 5th wedding anniversary this week. So 9.5 years together, we're celebrating. So that by no
Yay!
means
That's
makes me a marriage
exciting.
expert, but I would say it works.
Well, whatever you're doing is working currently. So I think that's awesome. And congratulations. That's exciting.
Thank you.
Very
Yes.
exciting.
Friday the 13th.
Yeah.
It's when we got married, too.
Wow. That's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Very brave, right? Not surprising to me though. I love that. That's wonderful. So as we talk about like knowing and accessing some of these best parts for ourselves and making sure that we're bringing them forward in our relationships so that we can have deeper connections and enhance our impact and grow and be more resilient. This all sounds really great, but I'm trying to think like how do I do that? Like how do I make sure that I'm aware and accessing the best parts of me to bring forward. I'm thinking about, so I've shared previously that one of the things I do every morning is when I'm sitting drinking my coffee, I have my planner out and I do some gratitude work and I think about my, whatever the daily affirmation is. A lot of times I'll use the quote from our Mindset Monday through the week just to kind of keep my head in the right space. So these are some things for me. I'm an introvert, and all that means is that I get my energy, I get recharged, my batteries through quiet time and alone time. It doesn't speak to how I spend my energy, just how I get it. And so it's really kind of intuitive for me to use that quiet time to get really aware of what's working for me today, what's not, why do I feel uncomfortable with certain things. I think for me that's where I get awareness and
Mm-hmm.
access to these best parts. But I'd be really interested to hear about other people and how you all get access and awareness to those parts.
Yeah, well, that really, when you were like, how do we do this? That's my recommendation. I think it starts with connecting to your inner intuitive voice,
Mm,
that strong sense of self. And that begins with connecting with our body. So making sure that we are taking care of our body and, drinking water and putting in real food, not stuff out of boxes, and spending some time outside in the sunshine with your feet on the ground, in the dirt and the grass, and really starting to begin to foster that awareness of the mind body connection. And then you will find, if you do things that perhaps aren't the most authentic, or you say something that really is kind of covering up what you truly feel, you will feel it. You will feel it in your body. And that is a moment to take that cue and go, I don't like that. For
right?
me, my
Yeah.
strong sense of authenticity comes directly from my desire to not be uncomfortable with myself.
Pause. Say that last sentence again. Can you remember what you said? My authenticity comes from my.
Desire to not be uncomfortable with myself.
That is probably the most beautiful sentence I've heard so far today. And I know it's still early, but seriously, I think that speaks volumes, right? There many times over the course of my life, I have been uncomfortable with myself and I didn't really understand why. And I do
Mm-hmm.
today. And it's exactly what you just said. When I am uncomfortable with myself, it's because there's a disconnect internally, and these best parts of me are probably not being brought forward. They're probably being like pushed back or silenced or censored or whatever that is. And I love what you just said. Pay attention to that. When we feel uncomfortable with ourselves, it's probably a misalignment
Mm-hmm.
somewhere
Oh
for
yeah.
us. And
I mean, I got to a point in my life where, it doesn't feel good to be the weird kid. It doesn't feel good to be the one who sits only at this one lunch table where all the other social rejects sit. It got a little bit better in high school because I joined marching band, so we were all weird together. But, I think probably most Americans at least go through this in teenage years, if it's not a universal thing. I don't know if it's just cultural, where you're trying to fit in, you're trying to find your place in life, you're trying to figure out which box that you fit into. And that was a time in my life where I didn't have the level of mindset and awareness and
right.
things that I have. You're just trying to figure out like what's going on with your body. And
True
so
story.
there was definitely a couple of years of my life where I was like, okay, well, being this unfiltered version of myself isn't serving me socially. So let's fit in the box. And that that hurt, not physically.
I bet.
And and then
Yeah.
you can go more places and do more things with all these people, but then it's like absolutely meaningless because you don't belong there in the first place, and it's not a place
Yeah.
that's going to recharge your batteries or fill your cup or anything like there, because it's a sham that you're there in the first place.
Oh my gosh, so true. I love this. Yes, yes, yes. My goodness, I can't believe how fast time goes. We're really getting down to the wire here. So I really kind of want to talk about what we can do over the next week to kind of help foster this idea of finding our authenticity. The other thing, Kayla, you mentioned like when you're a teenager, early 20s, just coming into adulthood, that this feeling, these things tend to happen, and I totally agree. The other time that I noticed these things bubbling to the surface and needing to become more aware and take some real intentional action around them was as I started my business. Right? As I started to launch my practice, I came to the table with a lot of shoulds and watching and listening other people who have started successful businesses. And it's really interesting because there's a lot of things that are tried and true about starting a business. And they will be true regardless of who's starting it or when or what type of business. And then there are things that are very personal about us starting our own business. And for me, it took me some time to figure out what kind of entrepreneur I am and what that would look like for me and what that would look like for my business. And truly, it kind of, when you were talking about teenage and early 20s, I was like, wow, I really revisited all of those feelings as I entered the entrepreneur space. Because again, I had an idea of what I was supposed to look like, sound like, feel like, appear, how I was supposed to show up versus what felt right inside intuitively. And it took some time to find where I feel comfortable. So I just want to say that if you're a newer advocate and you're exploring this world and you're thinking about starting your own practice and you're looking at the folks that have created a successful practice, remember that the most successful practices are with advocates and entrepreneurs who have done some self-awareness work, found who they are, and learned how to bring these things forward in everything we do. So, having said that, I really think that the call to action this week is to spend some time reflecting on how you can access the best parts of yourself and bring them forward in your work every day.
Mm-hmm.
So, what are those
What did you just say
qualities?
there?
Oh, I
Every
said
day. This is not a
every
one
day.
and done practice.
Yes, every day, every day. Make it part of what you're doing every day to focus on what are those qualities? What are the things about you that only you can bring? How do those particular qualities that you bring forward, how do they help your clients? Right? Like, and I'm just going to say that this makes me think about some of the stuff that we talk about regularly. Make sure you're asking other people, like, what do you see in me? What are the best things that I bring to our relationship? And let them
Case in
tell you.
point, I didn't realize
Yeah.
that my ability for deep, meaningful connection in a short period of time was a superpower until Nicole pointed it out, like this year.
Yeah, in conversations, right? Because other people see in us things that we can't see in ourselves.
Because it's
So it's
normal.
important. Right. That's just the way that it is. And it's good and it's okay, right? So, and as a result, ask your clients too. The clients that absolutely love you and adore you and tell you all the time what a great person and advocate you are, talk to them, ask them some specific questions. What are the qualities about the relationship that you and I have that you really appreciate? I have found that this is so helpful. So helpful. So anyway, that's my call to action. Take some time, do that stuff this week and see what you come up with. What do
I
you
love
think,
that.
Kayla?
And
Yeah.
that's fantastic. I just want to add to that I think I've mentioned this before. Obviously there's value in, talking to the people who have done it before you, the people who have started their practices and seeing what they did and all of that. But just keeping in mind that it's not a copy and paste scenario.
Yes.
Okay. You're looking at their wardrobe and you're going to try it on and see what pieces fit and kind of go from there. But you can't
Yes,
just wear all their clothes. It won't work.
that's right. Because you are not them.
Yes.
Great. I love it. This is great, guys. I hope that you have some time to really sit down and think about this. I would love to see some of this work and what you find out in some of the comments below over the week. Let us know. Talk to us about it. Hope to see you on the live call on Wednesday. I think we're going to shut it down and let things go. So we'll be back here 9 a.m. Eastern next Monday. Looking forward to seeing you there. If I remember correctly, we will be talking about intuition versus ego and more about self-awareness. So
Oh,
that's
love
what
it.
we'll be talking about next week. Awesome. Everybody have a great week. We'll see you right back here next time. Talk to you later.
Bye bye.
Bye.